Washington football team fans, what is up, guys? It's Jalen coming to you with another episode of the BnG podcast, episode 35. But guys, this is a jovial episode. I'm in an amazing mood, and the reason that I'm in an amazing mood is because the Washington football team shocked the NFL and shocked the entire country by beating the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers 29-19. So guys, as I told you, this is episode 35, but the title of this episode is going to be called Shocked But Not Really. And the reason why I'm calling this Shocked But Not Really, because whether it be the Dallas game in 2014, whether it be the game against the Green Bay Packers in 2016, the game on the Sunday night football game against the Oakland Raiders in 2017, the game against the Packers again in 2018, the Washington football team always seems to find a way to win a game that they're not supposed to win. You can go back to even last year against, the win on that Monday primetime game against the Pittsburgh Steelers when they were undefeated. So, like I said, we shocked the NFL and everybody, your pundits all over the national sports media. You're going to be hearing Skip Bayless tomorrow, Stephen A. Smith tomorrow, shocked that the Washington football team won the football game as, coming in as double-digit favorites in some sports books is plus 10 favorites or plus 9.5 at other sports books. But guys, like I said, if you're true Washington football team fans like we here are at Bleeding BnG, this is something that we're known to do. Whether it be the Washington Redskins or the Washington football team, we're known to always get one that we're not supposed to get, and I think that this is the one for the year. And guys, the crazy thing is, we dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We played our style of football. The game was played on our terms, and we were the better team for all four quarters. And we won in dominating fashion against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know what this has to say for the prospects of the rest of the season. And, with typical Washington football team luck, usually with that late season run that pushes down the draft position where we're ultimately never getting a franchise quarterback. So I don't know if this is the start of a trend that always seems to be happening for the Washington football team community. But I'm going to just bask in this glory. I'm going to live in this moment because it was an amazing Sunday and an amazing game. As you guys know, I'm there every game. Season ticket holder. You can catch me in section 139. And it was lit in there today. It was lit. Now, the place wasn't the most full. Don't get me wrong. But it was more full than the last couple of games I've been to. And while it wasn't the most full, the crowd was energetic throughout. And I think that the biggest reason is because, like I said, Washington was dominating throughout. I think that, we get so caught up in a lot of the nuances and things like that where we really don't pay attention to the cause and effect of things like that. We talk about how the crowd is quiet, how the crowd is never there and things like that. Well, the crowd that does show up, they rarely ever have anything to cheer for. So why would they be not loud? Why would they be causing a home field advantage when they don't have anything to cheer for? That's silly. So I'm going to give you a timestamp as I do for every episode. Today is Sunday, November the 14th, and it's about 11:46 p.m. So we're about a quarter of an hour before midnight. And guys, I'm ecstatic. I'm trying to hold my composure because it is late at night. I don't want to wake up anybody, but I'm ecstatic. Taylor Heinicke balled today. So we're going to start with the offense. Taylor Heinicke had a stat line that read for 26 of 32 for 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions for 110.4 passer rating, and that was tremendous. And I really want to touch bases on Taylor's performance because I really thought that he played really solid today. Nothing too crazy, nothing that was going to want us to be like, oh no, we found our guy, or oh no, we don't want to go look for our franchise quarterback during the offseason. But he played a really well football game, and he played a football game that's good enough for decent football teams to win. And Washington was more than a decent football team today. First, he protected the ball. He held up and he protected the ball very well. And I think part of it was the realization that he's playing against Tom Brady. So he took some of that Tom Brady zen. And, Tom Brady was actually the guy that was throwing the ball all over the yard. And we're going to get touched based on that when we get to the defense. But I think that he realized that he had to play Tom Brady, or he was playing Tom Brady, and that he had to protect the football. And that's what Taylor did. And the reason that I say this is because some plays, he took a couple of sacks because he was holding the ball longer than usual, and the offensive line was giving him a lot of time, especially early in the game. They did kind of wear down as players got hurt and things like that, as Brandon Scherf took off a couple of snaps and things like that. But Taylor did hold on to the ball, but the reason that I did that is because I think that he was just keeping himself from throwing an interception or having a turnover-worthy play. So he would rather take the sack than having a turnover or a fumble or an interception and things like that. And there was one play in the first half that really like solidified or validated this opinion that I had. He actually took a 2-yard sack when he could have, in my opinion, he could have threw the ball out of bounds for, no gain. It would have been a risky throw out of bounds. It would have been a risky throw because the defense was closing down on him. I don't know if he thought he didn't have the time to get the ball off. So rather eat the sack and things like that. But that just solidified all that I thought that he was playing uber protective of the football today. And it wasn't bad. I think these last couple of games, he's been in his head a lot, trying to be protective of the football. But today he was playing free. Early in the game, for a couple of snaps in the first half, Scott Turner had no huddle and things like that, which I think allowed. Whereas Taylor's shining, Taylor's an improv quarterback, and I think he shines when the pace of the game is fast and things like that. So even though the game resulted in him playing, protect turnover-free ball protection football and things like that, I didn't really see him pressing and thinking about doing it all throughout the game and things like that, which is a positive because when Taylor's at his best is when he's doing improv, is when he's reading quick, when he's progressing through his routes quickly and things like that, and when he's just moving fast on the field. This is a guy that's an athlete. We saw him scramble. We saw him get that big first down on the 3rd and 2 on the last drive of the game. So Taylor played a really good game. And cheers to you, Taylor Heinicke. That was a really good performance. Now on to Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson's stat line didn't read crazy. It was 24 carries for 64 yards for 2.7 yard per carry average. But Antonio Gibson was huge in that last drive of the game. Guys, Antonio Gibson was huge. As I said, his final stat line read as he had 64 yards. I would make a bet that almost half of those yards came on that final 19-play, 10-minute drive. And shout out to the offense for that. That is how you put a game away. And that's what good teams do. And you keep a GOAT, like the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, off the field. Shout out to Ron Rivera for that call, going for it on 4th and 1. With 31 seconds left, it was an amazing call, not even giving Brady a chance. You only up by 4, so even if you don't get it, he has to drive 99 yards in 31 plays. And with the way your defense was playing this today, as I'll touch base on the defense later, I love the call. But going back to Antonio Gibson, he was huge. He was huge on that drive. Not only running the ball, but he also went out on the backfield and had a huge catch coming out the backfield as well. So I love what I saw from Gibson, but I still don't think he's 100%, and I don't think he has all the twitchiness that I saw early in the year or in his rookie season. I don't think he's fully, coming back with all that juice that he had, that 4.3 speed that I've seen before. He toughed it out. He was moving the pile. He was running downhill. He was giving guys his shoulder. He put his shoulder down on Whitehead, who's a hard hitter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and made a statement. Once he did that, Tampa Bay didn't really want to play again. Like that I said in the stands, I said this game is over after that. Even though we were only up by 4, and there was a lot of time left on the clock, I saw that he took the soul out of Tampa Bay's heart. He took the soul out of Tampa Bay's body with that run. So shout out to Antonio Gibson, man, because I know you're fighting through a plethora of injuries, and I've been hard on you, but man, you fought through it today. And that's all that I can ask for. I love seeing my guys compete. We ain't got to win every game. I know we're not going to win every game. I'm realistic, but if we compete, that's all I can ask for. Now, I was brutally harsh on you last game, but you deserve all the praise for not a too crazy scrap line. But you know who also deserves some praise as well? It's Scott Turner. Because everybody and their mother, like I told you before, those national media pundits, all you heard on FS1, all you heard on NFL Network, all you heard on ESPN was Washington needs to abandon the run. And granted, that's all that the teams in the NFL do. That's all that every team does against Tampa Bay. Because they do have one of the most dominant run defense I've seen, since Since the early 2000s, honestly. Vita Vea is a stud in the middle. You got downhill linebackers like Levante David and Devin White. So, they're tremendous. They have a tremendous run defense. But shout out to Scott Turner for sticking to the run. 24 carries for just Antonio Gibson, not to mention the 4 carries for 7 yards by Jared Patterson, not to mention the 2 carries that J.D. McKissick had. So if you total those up, what is that? 20. That's 30 carries. That's 30 carries between your backs. Like that's a shout out to Scott Turner, because even though they didn't predict for you to stick to the run, even though all the pundits and everybody thought that you were going to abandon the run. I think I even saw some local beat reporters writing about that very thing. You abandoned the run. You stuck to the script, and the reason why I think we were able to put down that 19 play 10 minute drive to seal the game is because you were sticking to the run. You kept the offensive line firing off the ball throughout the game with 30 carries. You kept them moving forward at the line of scrimmage, and Tampa Bay, they didn't expect it. Because guess what? They're not used to teams running on them in the fourth quarter. And like I told you, once Antonio Gibson had that 10-yard run on that final drive, the soul was taken out of Tampa Bay's body. Even if Tom Brady was to come back out there, I didn't think they were going to do anything. Not today. Because if you were in that stadium, you felt the energy. You felt the energy coming in. And I think a lot of the energy coming in was to see Tom Brady. And it was a lot of hype of seeing, the defending champions. And rightfully so. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a great team. The energy was consistent and high because Washington was, like I said, they were dominant throughout. The Tampa Bay came out. They won the kickoff. They elected to receive the ball, basically saying that they're not scared of our defense at all. I heard Bobby McCain in the press conference talking about that ticked them off, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, because that's all that they're saying in the NFL with analytics and things like that. And it frustrates me the most because, our organization, our coaching staff seems to stick to the analytics of, getting the ball back in the second half. That's the most important thing. And I think it's just falling behind the, Bill Belichick's Czech school of thought and things like that. And I'm not mad at it, but you have to give context to things like that. Our defense, I hate always having to put them out on the field first because we're always coming from behind, it seems, this season. But, Tampa Bay, they won the kickoff, saying, no, we want the ball. And what we do? We stopped them. We forced them to a punt. And then on the next drive, we forced them to an interception. And then the next drive, we forced them to another turnover. Tom Brady had his first two interception first quarter since 2012. And I think that was only the second of his career. This lowly defense that we've been talking about all season. I have no word. Like I'm amazed. But this is what the NFL, guys. This is, if you guys follow sports gambling and things like that, double-digit underdogs been winning for the last 2 weeks outright. It's crazy. The NFL is the world's biggest, longest running reality show. It's crazy. But I'm glad that we were on the positive side of this reality show, at least for this week. Shout out to you, Scott Turner. As I said, sticking to the run, and going against the status quo, what everybody thought you were going to do. Like I've told you guys, I've been a big advocate for Scott Turner this season because you got to think he's not playing with the most talented quarterback. He's not playing with his biggest offseason weapon in Curtis Samuel. He's not playing with Logan Thomas since week 4. And he still has guys running open week in and week out, as I tell you guys, because I'm there in the stadium. Every home game, he still has guys running wide open. He's turning DeAndre Carter into a star. Speaking of DeAndre Carter, guys, is DeAndre Carter our best signing of the offseason? He's got to be, right? He's got to be. I think it's either between him or Charles Leno Jr., but I might give DeAndre Carter the slight edge because, I gotta stick up for my skill guys. I love my skill guys, my speed guys. DeAndre Carter, 3 receptions for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. The touchdown was a beautiful route coming out of the stack bunch position, creating leverage. He seems to have a knack for running those routes out the slot. He's explosive. He leads the league. He still leads the league in kick return yardage. And I saw that he had an interview in the players' room on some Washington football team licensed content on their website and things like that. And they were asking, like, why you get so upset when you can't return a kick? And it's like, they taking food off my plate. You know, early in the season, I wasn't getting a chance to contribute on the offense as much. And like, they taking money off the table. And I love that mentality. But guess what, DeAndre Carter? You're getting your chance to prove, to contribute on offense now, and you're proving yourself. You're the fan of the offseason. For an offseason that's been doom and gloom with your top 3 free agent signings not panning out to what you expected them to be, guys like DeAndre Carter, you have no choice but to marvel at what he's done this offseason. This is a guy who's a journeyman. We didn't expect nothing. I think he was signed to a reserve contract to start. And then I noticed him in Richmond. He seemed to have a little juice when he was running and things like that. The same juice that he's exhibiting on Sundays is the same juice that I saw him have in Richmond. And I'm loving what I see. He seems like a guy that's willing to do whatever. He seems like a guy that's tough, undersized but tough. You see him dipping that shoulder down on kick returns. I'm loving everything that I'm seeing from DeAndre Carter. And those are the type of guys that you want to keep around. So while we're still talking about the receiving, let's go to my guy Terry McLaurin. While his stat line wasn't crazy, 6 receptions for 59 yards, Terry McLaurin I love everything about Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin was clearly hurt. I think the Washington football team, the team finally came out and said that it was a collarbone injury, but it happened on that bubble screen against Devin White. Devin White laid him flat. I think it was a 1-yard gain. And it looked doom and gloom for guys that were really paying attention to Terry, like I am, because you know he's my wide receiver too in my fantasy. Shout out to Cooper Kupp, but Terry's right behind him, and I'm paying keen attention to what's going on with Terry, what's going on. I wanted him to catch every pass, I wanted him to get every target. So when he was out, it wasn't looking well. But this is a guy that came back, taking shot after shot on that collarbone. That 5-yard completion he had on the final possession, that 19-play drive, 10-minute drive, taking that hit from Whitehead, getting up, bouncing back, and letting him know, I'm too big. I'm too big. That's grown-ass man, Terry McLaurin. Like I've told you guys, this is my favorite player on the team. And while he might not be the best player on the team, because that best player, I'll mention him. I'll mention who I think the best player on this team is right now. Because that player is having a hell of a season, an amazing season. One of the most dominant seasons I've seen from a Washington football team player in recent memory. But going back to Terry, he's a guy that doesn't complain. He's a guy that, he's a warrior. He's a warrior. He's a warrior, and I think that's just having that third-round draft pick mentality. A lot of these first-round diva wide receivers who may not be as good as Terry, but may have a higher pedigree coming out of college and things like that, they wouldn't have fought through that injury. A collarbone that you're getting hit on each and every play, and this is the guy that's still running routes in the middle, man. This is the guy that's still fighting for contested catches and things like that, man. I love everything about Terry McLaurin. And y'all know I got to mention my guy. I did mention him earlier with his 2 carries, but as the self-proclaimed and self-anointed president of the J.D. McKissick fan club, I had to shout out that, he had 4 receptions for 35 yards. Just sticking to the trend that he contributes in every Washington football team victory. And I'm working on a nickname. I'm working on a nickname for J.D., and I'm just thinking of this on the fly, so bear with me if it's not cool, if it's not fly. But I'm going to call him JD Just Done Move the Chains McKissick. JD Just Done Move the Chain McKissick. Because it seems like every time he catches the ball, it's a first down. This man has the awareness of knowing where the sticks is. He gets open. I love everything about JD McKissick. Give me some more JD McKissick. Inject everything that you can give me about JD Just Done Move the Chain McKissick. Inject it all into my veins, because as the president of the fan club, that's my guy. That's my guy. Shout out to JD McKissick, man. Offensive line, shout out to you guys. You guys are held up for the most part. You guys were battling. Like I told you, that defensive front from the Bucs is no joke. And Ndamukong Suh, Via Veda, they are no jokes. They are no joke. Shaq Barrett, they are no joke. But we held up. They were still firing off the ball despite not getting, substantial gains in the run. But guess what? They won that last possession. When they had to chew that clock out, they chewed that clock out. They took 10 minutes off that clock. I don't care about Ndamukong Suh and Villa at that point. They were getting blown up off the ball. With our backup center, Tyler Larson, in. With Brandon Scherf coming in and out of the medical tent. This team showed a lot of heart today. And that's all I can ask. No, I don't think we're making the playoffs. But if this game proved to be a resurgence coming off the bye week, I'm here for it. I'm all here for it. Let's get to this defense, man, before we wrap up. I don't want to keep you guys too long. First of all, prayers up to Chase Young, who I think is the most talented player on this team. We've been harsh on Chase and his play this year, but you never want to see a guy go down like that. And I even mentioned before Chase went down, first, I was hyped for Chase because this is the biggest lead we had all season, a 14-0 lead. And the position defensive end, especially when you're looking to be a pass rusher and a pass rush specialist, your impact is predicated on game flow and game situation and things like that. Yeah, and I'm well aware of that. I'm just as harsh as the next man on Chase. But I've also realized that we've been down. We've been down in almost every game, so he's not allowed to pin his air back because the offense is guaranteed to be throwing the ball. He's got to play the run and the pass almost every down, which is unfair. Yeah, he should still have more than 1.5 sacks, but that all wasn't Chase's fault. And if you guys ever thought that was our opinion over here at Bleeding BnG, that was never it. Also did think he could play better, but you never want to see a guy go down like that. Report is it's a torn ACL, and I'll go ahead and say it. I was actually standing next to his dad in the walkthrough in the atrium during halftime, and he was talking to a family member, I would assume, and he was talking about it looks like a torn ACL. And he was talking about how Chase has never had any major injuries in his life, and how he was just emotional when he went down there to see him. I guess he was coming back from where they're allowed to see the players and things like that. Which sucks for Chase, man. Because as I said, he was playing one of his better games. While he didn't have a sack, he was prominent on that first interception from Brady, to say the least. I know Jonathan Allen was in his face, but Chase had a nice outside rush on that play as well. And I also saw him use an array of moves, more moves that I saw him use throughout the season. I saw him use more moves in those first 2.5-3 possessions that he played than I had seen him use throughout the season. So I know he had heard the noise coming from Coach Rivera, coming from myself, coming from fans of the community, coming from radio hosts and things like that. And for him to go down like that with a torn ACL, giving it his all, it just sucks, man. It sucks. But going back to this defense, man, this defense played their best game of the season. Yeah, I know we've been moving the goalposts. Oh, they did this. Oh, yeah, they held the Packers to such and such. Oh, well, they were pretty good against the Broncos for 3 quarters. Oh, they were pretty good against the Chiefs for 3 quarters. No, this was the most dominant performance of the season. We were at it for 4 quarters. While we didn't record a sack, the best player on this team, and I think who is playing the best at the defensive tackle position in the NFL right now, Aaron Donald included, is Jonathan Allen. He was in Tom Brady's face all day. And if you're wondering why Tom Brady's stat line read for 220 yards, for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, John Allen was basically the sole reason because of that. He had Tom Brady looking like an old man in that pocket. Because what did Tom Brady tell you guys? What did he tell you guys out of his mouth bothers him the most? Interior pressure. And John Allen was giving it all game. I think he only had 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 assist. But the solo tackle, oh my God, grown-ass man. With the stacking shit, the offensive lineman that stopped the running back on 3rd and 1, Leonard Fournette. Big Leonard Fournette. Oh my, Jonathan Allen is playing otherworldly right now. He deserved every penny of that contract. And he's playing like a top 5 defender in the league at this point. And then he has the numbers to back it up. Yeah. Like I said, he's playing the best at the defensive Jonathan Allen is playing the best at the defensive tackle position in the entire NFL, Aaron Donald included. Aaron Donald included. And you can debate your mother. But going back to the rest of the defense, Jamin Davis was flying around the ball. While he still doesn't look a little lost in coverage, and I'm still kind of susceptible to his eyes. I'm still kind of questioning his eyes and what he sees. But when he does see, oh my God, he's a heat-seeking missile. He's a heat-seeking missile. I remember one play vividly. You guys got to forgive me. I'm backtracking. I was watching the games live, trying to take my notes in the stands and things like that. I remember one play vividly though. They allowed the reception, but he came in and just smacked the dude and he hit the dude in the back, and you still heard the impact in the crowd. That's how fast he was coming. So he's still, Jamin. I think that the game, while I do worry about his eyes, I think the game is slowing down for him a little bit. So once he gets that eyes component down, and once he's able to once he sees quicker and he's able to react to what he sees, I think that we might be coming on to something. We might be coming on to something, and he's showing some of that promise that he showed early in the draft. By no means is he living up to us not drafting a quarterback, or by no means has he been a steal of a pick at 19 to this point. But he is flashing, and he is showing some improvement, and that's all that I can ask for. That's all that I can ask for. Bobby McCain and William Jackson both caught interceptions. Bobby McCain, shout out to you. You caught an interception, my guy. We were real hard on you last week because you dropped one of the easiest interceptions in the last 20 years. Of interceptions that have been dropped and interceptions that have been caught. That was one of the easiest ones I've ever seen in my life, and you dropped it, bro. But guess what? You caught this one. And I will say this. I do think that Bobby McCain is playing pretty well as a deep safety. As you guys have noticed, our defense has improved once Landon Collins had moved closer to the line of scrimmage. But I think that our defense has improved as well because Bobby McCain is getting more comfortable in his scheme, and he's getting more comfortable because he's playing next to Cam Curl. I think a lot of Bobby McCain, I don't think he had any physical limitations at all. He seems twitchy. He seems like he's still fast and things like that. But I think a lot of it was communication issues, and he was trying to make up for a lot of what he knew Landon Collins wouldn't make up for. But as you see, his play has increased dramatically as Landon has played closer to the line of scrimmage. This was probably Landon's most quietest game since he has been moved closer to the line of scrimmage. But he was still making impact. He was still in the box. You laying the lick on Leonard Fournette, what you need. While you might not see him having high tackle numbers in the box score, he was in there making that late hit on Leonard Fournette, what you need on those 240, 250-pound running backs. They need to feel it. And Cam Curl. Cam Curl might be the best player on his defense. Second best player on his defense, excuse me. Cam Curl might be the second best player on his defense at this point. He was the cause of the first interception, playing through the hands and things like that. And this is why we're so hard on Jack Del Rio. This is why we talk about schemes and things like that. Because even though you both of our interceptions today, and almost the third one that got dropped by Kendall Fuller, which was a pretty good play. All of our interceptions today was a result of us playing through the hands of the receiver. But guess what? You can't play through the hands of the receiver if you're not there because you're playing 15 yards off from the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball. We played a lot of man coverage today. I could tell that from the stands. We played more man coverage than normal, and we were physical. William Jackson, he got an interception today because that's the scheme that he thrives in. Kendall Fuller, who while I don't think he's a elite press man corner, played really well today. Did get beat in press man playing against Mike Evans because I think that's due to some of the physical limitations that Kendall has at this point. But he played a really good game. And if you look at both of our interceptions and the almost near interception, all of those were a result of us playing through the receiver's hands. And that was a result of us being in the receiver's grill from the line of scrimmage, playing press man and things like that. So shout out to that adjustment. I think that the coaches did a lot of self-scouting throughout the bye week and realized they got some improvement to do. Like, we needed to check ourselves, bro, and you can tell. So shout out the Washington football team, man. I do want to give a big shout out to Joey Sly. Coming in on a short week, midweek, and seizing the opportunity in his first game as a Washington football team member, going 3 for 3 on field goals with a log of 46. And what I loved about Joey Shive, you go to my Instagram page, at BnG, go to my Twitter page as well, at BnG. He didn't celebrate after any kick. Ran right to the kicking tee like it's business. Let me go kick this ball off. I loved it. And he even showed some wheels running down, darting on one of those long kickoff returns. I loved it. So, hey, the Washington football team balled out in all 3 phases of the game this week. That's what you need to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or to beat anybody of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers caliber. So, hey, great win on a Sunday leads to a great week. So we're going to be pushing out a preview episode for our next game against the Carolina Panthers. That game is actually on my birthday. Yes. So, this is my favorite time of the year. Thanksgiving, my birthday, and hopefully we can keep stacking up these Washington football team wins. So thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the BnG podcast, episode 35. If you guys haven't followed our social media pages, please tap into our Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at BleedingBNG. BLEEDIN BNG. Please tap into our Instagram. That handle is spelled just a tad bit differently. It's at BleedingBNG. BLEEDING BNG. So it's 2 G's in our Instagram handle. If you have, please subscribe to us, like us, like our stuff, comment on our YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can search us at BleedingBNG on YouTube or at Jalen Morgan, or look up my name, Jalen Morgan, on YouTube. And guys, we're on all podcast platforms at this point. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Review specifically, on Apple Podcast specifically, please rate, review, and subscribe. Just leave a 1-sentence review. Please give us a rating. Hopefully it's 5 stars if you love us. But just be honest. But hey, we're trying to finesse these algorithms so that everything that we're pushing out at Bleeding BNG about the Washington football team is coming to you guys, because we're trying to be your number one source for the Washington football team. So thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Bleeding BNG podcast. I'll be back with another one soon. Peace.